Welcome to the third episode of Shadowscast, and as you can see behind me, yes, Virginia, there is a McDonald's in Asia. This episode will be looking at simple things. First, reactions to running Ubiquity. Gaming in public, which has been a constant theme on other blogs lately. And a little bit more about living and possibly gaming in Seoul. Okay, let's get started. For those of you who've wondered about ordering RPG books internationally but weren't really sure if you wanted to take the risk, this segment of the Shadowscast is for you. Those of you who've watched earlier clips that I've put together, especially for the BattleTech introductory box set, know that I've ordered from a few companies before with good success, although a recent round of problems with Amazon surprised me quite a bit, as they'd never given me any problems before. This particular box came from Noble Knight Games. Okay, so let's take a look inside and see what I ordered. Inside the box, once you get through the newspaper packing and the bubble wrap packing, you have literal trees worth of wrapping paper, followed by the mail service envelope. Inside will be my books. Okay? And if their usual habit from Noble Knight Games is kept, there'll be more wrapping inside. I have yet to have even a slight problem from these people. Well, let's see what happens. Open. Looking inside, we can see that each book is wrapped in its own protective Ziploc bag. Bringing out the first book, we see that I have ordered for myself. Maybe it's old for you, but it's new to me. Cthulhu Tech, the core book, the revised. As you can see, it's in perfect condition. Okay, we'll open that up in a bit. Second order. Also book I purchased because I liked its attractiveness in PDF and wanted to see for real, is Unhallowed Metropolis revised. Alright. So again, while the contents themselves might not be exciting to you people who live near things like game stores, for me it was quite exciting. And exciting for my dog too.
Nothing like coffee and role-playing games.
Exactly. So we're actually here in a coffee shop in the middle of Seoul, in one of the university districts, and seen you before. Let's not talk to you.
All right.
So we've been together for quite a few months now, playing Ubiquity, Hollow Earth Expedition, Desolation, and now starting in on All for One. What have your thoughts been about playing in public?
You know, I don't have any problem with it. Sometimes I think we might be a bit distracting to the other people around here, but I usually have a good time, and I think that the environment largely adds to the atmosphere. We need an NPC that we don't want to figure out the description for. We can just grab a random face out of the crowd and use him.
What do you think?
I quite enjoy it. The biggest problem I find is the overall volume. As was discussed in the previous podcast, the sheer number of people that inhabit this city.
Shall we take a look around the room? Go ahead.
Oh, and there's the author of this particular blog. The sheer number of people in any given spot. In this particular coffee shop, not so bad. There's some people around over here. Going back around this way. There's some people back around here. I've got this gaggle of girls yelling in my ear the whole time.
Right, just that whole table there just went to the bathroom together.
Oh, right. Yeah, there was the whole table of 6 or 8 over there that was pretty talkative.
Maybe they're just camera.
But yes, through the magic of using the tablet, and we don't even really need to bring books, although I'm glad this one appeared today. Just can't get enough of that cover. But,
Yeah, there's one thing that comes up sometimes is, I think when we start rolling dice, people around us start to, what the hell's going on over there? It's a little, it can sometimes take you out of the scene a little bit. When we were sitting at the other end of the coffee shop where we had been the last few months, it was right beside the smoking room. And it was, I personally found it distracting when the cute young girls in short skirts would wander in and sit down and have a smoke right beside us at the window and preen themselves.
Yes, well, some of us have self-control.
I find that usually just enhances my imagination and immersion in the role-playing experience.
Oh, it enhances my imagination. There's no doubt about that.
All right. This is a PG podcast. All right. In terms of focus or keeping the action moving, any comments?
I think playing in a public place makes it a lot easier to go off on tangents. Get distracted by something, someone, something happening around you. For example, we were playing, and the number of people that kept bumping into the door because no one bothered to unlock it, it became kind of distracting and took us out of that. And we would spend a few minutes talking about life in Korea and things that we find either aggravating or hilarious, and then, all right, focus, back in the game. So that was one big distraction.
I don't usually have too many focus problems. I tend to be kind of a deep thinker and off somewhere else most of the time anyhow.
I'm very shallow.
Are you?
Yeah. Cut.
For running the game, it's not so bad. I kind of have you guys as a screen between me and the rest of the coffee shop. But it'd be nice to have tables that were a little larger. You know, I prefer to use dice versus dice rollers. Using a dice roller, I only need this much space. But it is kind of nice to have the Ubiquity dice out on the table and not have to shuffle around all of the coffee cups and whatnot. This chair is great. It's much better than any chair I have in my apartment at the moment. So the comfort is nice. But as you can probably tell from my voice right now, we've been here since 11. It's 2 o'clock now. My voice is starting to get a little worn out from having to pitch it over all the ambient conversation.
And actually, this time we're not sitting underneath a speaker where the insanely annoying music is playing.
Right, playing through Christmas was interesting as we had to compete with the Christmas carols.
Your thoughts on Christmas carols?
I didn't like the Christmas carols.
My mind. Note to coffee bean owners. Maintain the tradition of ignoring all holidays. Stop the music. People can get hurt. Well, for us, using Ubiquity the first time, I guess the biggest impression that we had was speed. Even though we were still learning the rules, you know, referencing different pages in the core book and you know, checking to make sure that we were doing things correctly, it still, you know, really blew the doors off in terms of how quickly combat could be resolved and not leave you with any doubts that it had been, you know, handled in a fair and impartial way. And once we got the Ubiquity dice, it was even faster because the guesswork was gone. You didn't have to count odds and evens. You know how difficult that can be. You just had to look down and see how many successes you did or didn't get. And when I, as the game master, became comfortable with taking the average in most situations for the opposition, well, then, you know, speed is untrackable, really. And my focus could be spent more on, you know, describing the scene and providing opportunities for excellent action, rather than looking something up in a chart or wondering how a particular talent worked or how many bonuses it might add or subtract. Ubiquity is fast. That really was our first reaction. Later, after we got over how fast it was, and could talk about other things and how fast it was. We discovered that it had a lot more crunch to it than it seemed at first. It seemed so simple and fast. It just seemed to get out of the way and do its job, that it felt very, very light. But as we got more and more players, and they came to us with very different character design concepts than what we were building, we really began to see some real complexity and depth hidden in the simplicity. I mean, seriously, you sit down to make a character, it's over in just a few minutes as you're assigning points in a very familiar fashion. 15 points for attributes, 15 points for skills, and some talents or resources here and there. It really is quite simple, but the interplay of talents and resources and other advantages like that really build in some interesting and intriguing characters. So the initial impression of speed lent, let's say, an unfair impression that the game was light or simplistic, which after a few sessions we soon dispelled. So really, after a few months, we came to realize that Ubiquity is a very solid system that you can do just about anything with. Now, it appeared on the scene bagging Hex, so you're thinking heroic pulp, you're thinking, uppercuts to Nazi chins and the like. But when you add in the fact of desolation, more of a sword and sorcery, and with that apocalyptic feel to it, and then All for One with its supernatural swashbuckling approach, and the upcoming League of Adventure, there's a lot more to this game than just punching Nazis. Adding to earlier discussions about the nature of Korea, particularly Seoul, we talked about the vast number of people and how particularly you can easily become lonely, yet never ever be alone. I had to walk for a good 30 minutes to find a spot with no people likely to pass by, but as you can see behind me, there goes a bunch now. One of the key things to really try and broadcast, to capture the real sense of what it's like to live here, is dynamic change. Now, Koreans themselves use the word dynamic to describe the country as a positive selling point. I'm using it in the sense of never ending, always in motion. You can literally feel like if you leave your apartment in the morning, when you get back at night, the stores will be different. Someone else will have moved one store out and moved another store in. Things change all the time. You can see construction going on behind me, and if I turn over this way, you'll see construction that's just now completing, which just started a few months ago, really. The buildings go up very fast. What's inside them changes even faster. The pace is frenetic. So capturing that sense of long history. Koreans are very proud of 5,000 years of continuous history as a homogeneous people. And you can see signs of that ancient culture around you in most parts of the city, with modern high-rises standing next to ancient temple sites. Now, the buildings that may stand on those sites are probably fairly recent, conducted according to traditional methods, but still, as you walk through various parts of the city, what you see is the ancient mixed indiscriminately with the ultra-modern. And it can be a very unique experience, something that you don't quite see in other parts of Northeast Asia. But this dynamic change is really what's responsible for it. It's not an attempt at fusion. It's change or die, adapt or die. And that's something that really needs to be transmitted in order to truly convey a sense of place and of character if you want to set any kind of scene in the modern Korea. Now, if you were thinking of doing an earlier period, like perhaps if you were getting into Godlike, and we're all waiting for the PDF release of Godlike, and you wanted to do something either during or just after the Korean War, you'd have a completely different experience. You'd have a nation that had been entirely flattened by powerful forces from within and without. And one thing I'd like to share is a few years ago I was standing at Seoul Tower, which is on top of a central mountain in the middle of the city. It has a commanding view of the entire city. And while I was up there with guests, I noticed an older man, a little overweight, and unashamedly standing at the windows looking out over the city crying. And there were signs up about disorientation caused by the slow rotation of the observation deck. So as there were no other obvious English speakers around, I stepped in to ask him if he needed assistance. And his answer was kind of a non sequitur, but it quickly involved me in conversation with him. And what he said was, the last time I was here, everything was mud. So here I am standing in the middle of the largest city I've ever been in, with an average population bordering on 15 million people, high-rises everywhere, everything is paved, very little greenery, and, you know, as was mentioned in the last podcast, ubiquitous Wi-Fi. Everybody has a smartphone, everybody's wired and constantly in contact with the world around them, and this man's memory of Seoul is of churned mud and warfare. It gives you some interesting perspective.